All right, we're back on the Suburban, back on rebuilding this trans. I got a bunch of parts, and we'll run through all those as we put the transmission back together. First, I want to show you the tool I bought. So anytime you're taking on a big project, you got to find a tool that you need. This time around, it was a transmission holder. I got this from Global Transmission Parts. Looks like it's Street Side Tools is the brand. Took my vise off because I ended up acquiring a vise from Grandpa, which is awesome. And we're going to just drill some holes real quick, get this transmission holder locked in, then we can start cleaning up parts. There's a lot of grit in there. What you want when you're rebuilding the transmission is metal shavings everywhere. All right, 3.5 cans of brake clean later. Got it all cleaned out, and there was a lot of grit in there. But I think we're good now. So we just got to slowly start putting stuff back in. First thing we got to do, I pulled this seal out, so we got to drive that seal in from the back side. Make sure we're good there. I'm gonna check that bearing there, make sure that it's good. The bushing. I bought a whole bushing kit, but it's kind of a risk with me replacing them because if you don't get them perfectly in line, like it's gonna cause problems. So I think I'm just going to replace the ones that look like they need to be replaced instead of risking screwing one up, swapping it out. All right, here is the planetary system, like for the rear output, and went to my buddy's place and we made this little tool, slipped in behind this bearing here, and then we just pressed through the back side, and that allows these sun gears to come out. I wanted to do that so I could really get this thing clean inside. But I don't have the rear output seal, so I'm not going to worry about putting that together quite yet. Now we're going to work on this. This one, these center bearings or bushings were damaged, so we're going to try to get them out. I got a whole new bushing kit here. So let's tap them out with a screwdriver. And then I've got a bearing driver set on hold for me at the O'Reilly's. So. Alright, got this all cleaned up. Man, it is taking a lot of brake clean. And don't get it in the eye, it hurts. But all these ridges are all caked with, grit. So, got it all cleaned up. I've got a whole new piston set. They're Red Eagle high performance pistons. So these are the two I need for the 456 clutch assembly. So we'll get these in there. Alright, got the new snap ring in. The kit came with new snap ring, so that's sweet. I went to go put the old one in, and it was like way too loosey-goosey. And luckily, the kit came with some, so that's awesome. So that's good. The steels did not come with the new wavy plate, so I'll put the old wave plate in, and then we'll start going steel friction. And we'll just match what we have here with what's soaking in the training fluid. So I bought all new Torrington bearings, which is probably overkill, but I don't know if I can get all the junk out of them, so I'll just put new ones in. It'll be good to have all that fresh. Yeah, like Global Transmission Parts, they have an awesome like ordering system. Like it's super easy. You go into, say you want a kit for whatever transmission you're buying, and it has kind of like categories all the way throughout the transmission where you can make upgrades or do add-ons and stuff. Yeah, it just makes it super easy. So you don't have to bounce all over the website. You can find all the parts you need for the transmission you're working on. And so I got this Torrington bearing kit. So we'll be replacing all of those. Like I said, might be overkill, but I don't want to have any problems with this thing. All right, the kit came with a new plastic washer there. Got the new Torrington bearing in. We're going to drop this planetary in, and then that sun gear, and then the 456 assembly is pretty much done. Oh, we got to get these guys in. Alright, so I guess there's a special tool to install these, and I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to get the new ones because these are torn now. That's no good. So that'll be a redo. Now we're going to get these bushings put in. So I'll drive them in, hopefully get them nice and square. Alright, so when I get this pole out of here, I'll show you kind of more what I did. But there's a ring in there that's got some spring tension, and it makes it so you can't see the snap ring. So I just took this part of the transmission, flipped it over, put it in the press, and it worked perfectly to press that spring tension down and get the snap ring in. I just had to use this long screwdriver to kind of pop the snap ring down into the groove. But now that piston's in, ready for the clutch disc. See, this part here came out of there. So now that piston is in, the little spring ring is in, snap ring's in. So now we can start putting steels and discs in here. I got to get them soaking. Alright, moving on to the other side, got another Red Eagle piston to put in. Alright, back from vacation, got that snap ring on, trying to figure out where I was at. Got that missing clutch disc, so that's all soaking now in there. We're going to put that clutch back in here with the new ones. Alright, so we got a steel. Already got my wave plate in there. Alright, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4 and 3, 5 reverse assembly. I got these pistons all cleaned up. One thing I'm realizing between like Turbo 400 and this thing's got a lot more areas for like just sediment and stuff to collect. Like all these ridges, these are all just full of clutch material. And like these pistons all throughout, just very, very dirty. And when I had that TH400 apart, even the one that went bad, like it was a lot easier to clean. There's not as many like nooks and crannies. So, all right, we're gonna put these new lip seals on here, get them pushed in. This thing's complicated. All right, so there's a few O-rings in here, and then there's another one of these lip seals with the little groove in it that goes in this top slot, but we leave that out until we get all these pistons in. So I'm going to lubricate those O-rings, get these pushed in, lubricating. All right, I got this guy cleaned up, put back together. I don't know if I showed it or not, but I had to go to my buddy Matt's place. We machined this little piece, pull this bearing out. But I just cleaned it up real good, got it back together, got this cleaned up. So now I put our new Torrington bearing down in there. I got the new seal in on the back side. And we'll just start setting this thing back in there. There's a tool for dropping this in, but I'm going to see if I can do it just with my fingers through here and hopefully not scratch anything or smash my fingers. We shall see. Okay. Perfect. That wasn't too bad. All right. I broke an O-ring, and so I had to order that, and then plus I'm breaking down and getting the snap ring tool to put this guy back in because it was kind of a pain in the butt. Also ordered some new Teflon rings, and I learned how to get these installed without tearing them up. So we're going to be putting new ones of those, and I bought 2 sets actually in case I screw up again. So kind of dead in the water there. We're going to start tackling this valve body. I got all these bolts broke loose, so let's get this thing split apart, see what we're working with here. This project is a little bit intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot going on in this transmission. It's very dirty inside, so it makes me a little bit nervous. The parts are a lot more expensive than, you know, the TH400, so if I screw up, it's like a lot bigger deal. Plus, it was 8 hours getting that thing out of here instead of like in my Jeep, it's only 2 hours to pull the transmission. So the cost of getting it wrong is high. All right, got this all blown apart. This is the lower valve body assembly. The shift kit goes in the upper valve body assembly, so we'll deal with that in a bit. It also comes with a piece that goes in the oil pump, but the oil pump that I got from Global Transmission Parts already has it installed. We don't have to tear that apart, so that's nice. Also, I was kind of freaking out about having all these extra steels in my kit. The dudes at Global Transmission Parts, super helpful. I called them up. They said that that steel kit actually works for the 6L80 and 6L90. And the 6L90 has more steels and more frictions. So the extra steel in each pack is because it works for both transmissions. So anyway, that's cool. We're gonna start lubing these up, putting these back together now that this is all cleaned up. All right, I put most of the lower valve body back together. Just put those valves back in after cleaning it. Nothing too fancy. Still got this one to put back in, but that's where that spring was broke. So waiting on that. We're gonna take apart the upper valve body. There's a bunch of valves that come out, and one of them gets replaced with the ship kit. These little clips come out pretty easy. Just kind of, you can put a little pressure on that spring, and then it just pops out, and then I just kind of grab that valve where I can through the holes here and push it out. There we go. I don't know why I started with the second one. I'm going to go ahead and go down the line, get all these out, and start cleaning this thing up. All right, got this guy all cleaned up. All of these go back into place, but this one that goes on the end here, we're going to be replacing with the Transgo kit. Comes with a bushing to refit that bore, and then a different valve, different spring, so on and so forth. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to get these ones cleaned up and jammed in back into position while they're still in order. And this thing will be about ready to put back. This thing's going to be about ready to slam back together. Alright, it's got like 8 more of those things to go. When I get to the one I'm replacing with the Transgo kit, I'll show you. Alright, so this is the actuator feed limit valve. And I'm not sure what it does. I'll put some text on the screen when I figure out what that is. But it must move a lot more than anything else because this bore, I guess, can get wore out. So we're replacing it with a bushing, a new valve, a new spring, and it's a fix for a common failure on this transmission. All right, so there's 2 holes on the bushing there. You want those to be visible in a couple of the veins. I'll show you in just a minute. So you want the holes visible in that vein and that vein. Now the new valve goes in there. Lube it a little bit. New spring. Oop. Spacer. There we go. Repaired. Upper valve body is done. And the parts just showed up for the lower valve body, so we'll get that back together. Right on. Alright, this is the spring that it was missing, and holy crap, look how big that thing is. Can't believe it was just totally gone. So that's definitely a big reason why this thing failed. Because this controls like the torque converter slippage. Shove that guy in there, we'll get this back in, and the lower valve body is ready to rock and roll as well. Sweet. All right, so now I've got the upper valve body here. We're going to put the check balls in. I have a late 6L80E, so it has 8 check balls. Some of the earlier ones, I'm not sure the year cut off, but they had 7. So I'm going to use this diagram, get all these check balls placed in the upper valve body. And then I ordered a new spacer plate because GM actually recommends that you replace that on a rebuild because the gaskets are bonded to it. I could scrape those off. The rebuild kit came with paper gaskets, but I just decided to go ahead and buy the bonded plate. Should just be better. Want this thing to work. So we'll get these set in there. Get the gasket on, suck it down together. All right, the halves are together. We gotta torque them down. It's gonna be 71 inch-pounds. This book has been super helpful, so you pretty much gotta have it. But yeah, it shows you actually an actual size of the bolt because there's several different bolts that put this thing together. So it's nice to be able to match that up. And then it tells you the sequence. So basically just bouncing back and forth, 71 inch-pounds. Alright, clean this guy up, TCM, put in the new gasket here that's got a filter. Alright, in the teardown video, I got this giant snap ring out with just basic hand tools, and it sucked. So I broke down and bought these giant freaking snap ring pliers from Adaptacase, as recommended by the book and a few of the videos I watched. So let's see how good these things work. This thing does need to be oriented in the right direction. Let me double check. I think it's 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock position. So I don't know if I start from here. Man, you get the right tool for the job. Gosh, it makes a big difference. Holy moly, that was easy. Gosh, that was stupid how I did it before. $200 for a 5-second job. All right, with that in there, make sure that it doesn't need to be tapped around. It's tapered, you know, so. But there's a few more components that can go in right now. And then we'll start putting that other clutch pack together. Got new Torrington bearing in there. We're going to drop that guy in. I didn't replace any of these bushings. They all looked good. And like I said earlier, if I try to replace them and then screw up, it's going to be worse than just leaving the old ones in. Now I'm going to clean this guy up and find this replacement Torrington bearing. Nice. All right, got my new O-ring in here, the one I messed up. I got all those pistons back in. Now we're gonna put this guy in. I just put the new lip seal around there. So we'll set this guy in that little spring, and then we got one more piston to put in. All right, wave plate going in. Yep. Alright, got my weight plate in there. Again, steel. So they make a tool to put these Teflon rings on, and the full set with the install tool, the little press tool, and the shrinker sizer tool, it's about $600. We're gonna try to do it with the Red Bull can. This is actually working pretty good. It's just figure out how to shrink them down. So, there's a reason why there's a tool for it, but I think we're gonna be all right. Just gonna get some electrical tape and the Turbo 400 had rings like this, but they were split, and you could unclip them and put them on there. I don't know why they changed to this style. Hopefully those are good. Just gotta shrink them down. I think I'm gonna try some electrical tape, but I'm gonna consult the old YouTube University. All right, so I just made a few wraps with this fat electrical tape and then put some hose clamps on there. And what I've read is you gotta leave it for about 15 minutes or so. So I'm gonna find something to do the next 15 minutes. We'll go back, take this off. Hopefully they're shrunk up. Hopefully I didn't tear them. If I did, I got one more set to try again. All right, while we're waiting for those to shrink down, we're gonna put the cooler bypass delete kit in here. So in this block, this is where the cooler lines tie into. There's like a thermostat, and I guess sometimes it can get plugged up and not flow very well. So there's Transgo and a couple other kits. Companies make a kit to delete that. So got to get the snap ring out, pull this thing apart, get it all cleaned up, and then I'll show you the new parts. I feel like I'm doing this enough these days. It's time to get some good snap ring pliers. All right, for this Transgo kit, some of the kits replace this whole plug. Transgo kit just kind of dismantles it. So you got to get this O-ring, these O-rings off. Got to get this little clip off, get this spring out, and then we'll go from there. Nice. Okay. The clip, the spring, and that disc all have to come out. And this O-ring. And that O-ring is not replaced. This O-ring off too. Try not to stab myself in the finger. Yes, all that stuff goes in the garbage. Clean this up. Don't need this guy either. New O-ring on there. Alright, the spacer goes inside the end cover that we dismantled. There's a pin, goes into the end of the bypass plug, and then all that goes right inside of our bypass. I dip that in oil so it's not going in dry. Beautiful. Same with that. Oh no, forgot that spacer was in there. Why is that not going in there? Oh, the spacer has a hole in it too, dummy. Snap a ring of pliers. Right on, better cooling. Right there. Alright, we're gonna clean out these cooler lines. Got a little piece of hose attached there. we're going to use this Lube Guard cooler clean. First, we got to blow them out. Just see what happens. Wash your eyeballs. Already shaking it up. Let's see how she does here. If I need to. So I think I'm gonna grab another can because the video I watched said to go both directions, which kind of makes sense because there can be some nooks and crannies in that cooler where stuff could be stuck, and so it's like 18 bucks or something. Like, I think it's worth it to not destroy the new transmission. So get another can tomorrow morning. We'll flush that through, but let's go check on those seals, see if they shrunk down. That one's, the top one's real smooth. These ones have a couple little bumps on them. I wonder if we wrap it with tape again and just use this hose clamp's a little smoother on the inside. Let's tighten them down once and see if we can get those bumps to go away. I don't know if one squish is good or I'm going to have to let it set overnight. I don't really want to have to do that because I want to get this thing put together. I might have done it. Sweet. Got the new filter in. I did put the new filter seal in there. Got the electrical connector through the case. Now just got, oh, we got the magnet. Kit came with a new magnet. Throw that in the pan. All right. That, my friends, is a rebuilt 6L80E. I don't know if it works or not, but it's rebuilt. I've got a giant day tomorrow, trying to get this thing back in. It took me 8 hours to get it out. I can't imagine it going in any faster. So there's a few things I want to show you along the way, but I'm not going to show you the whole process. I do want to show you the new torque converter when we get to that, and the jack that I picked up from my father-in-law. So I'm excited about the transmission jack. That's going to really help. And then a couple tricks along the way. So see ya in the morning. All right, well, the transmission jack is broke. So I built this little contraption for when I did the transmission on my ZJ. It works okay. So just basically swapped out that jack, you know, pedestal thing. So I gotta try to get this thing under there. The rig's not quite high enough, but see if we can slide it under. The last upgrade is the torque converter. So it's got a billet face and billet internals. So the torque converter is one of the things that fails on these. And by upgrading all this to heavy duty, should last a lot longer. There it is. Can't really see me, but we're driving, it's shifting. Break-in procedure is 500 miles of stop and go driving. So no sustained one speed for long periods of time. I'm gonna get it up to highway speed and then back down for tonight. Might be a transmission builder. All right, I successfully rebuilt a 6L80E. I saved myself about $3,000 to $3,500, maybe more. So the quotes that I was getting in Spokane to have this thing rebuilt was $6,500 to $8,000. I've got like 28 to 3,000 in it, and I upgraded everything that I could. You know, upgraded frictions, upgraded pistons, did the shift kit stuff, billet torque converter, and you don't get that with the rebuild. So upgraded everything and saved myself a ton of money. If you can rebuild an engine, you can rebuild a trans. So I would say that, like, it's on that level. You just gotta pay attention. A few of the things that really helped. Number one, get the book. Yes, there are a ton of good YouTube videos, and I will link the videos that I use to help me down below. But this has everything you need, and it's so nice to actually have a book that you can lay on the bench as you're going through things. So get this book. These snap ring pliers, in the book it says it's a required tool. I got the snap ring out without them, but I don't think I would have got it back in. Taking that thing out took me, I don't know, a couple hours, because I was messing around with it, and then I like tried to get some smaller snap rings from a friend and messed around with that, and then finally just got a couple screwdrivers and busted my knuckles a bunch. It sucked. This took 5 seconds. I would buy extra of those Teflon sealing rings because you're probably gonna mess them up if you haven't done them before. And the tools for that, like I said, were like $600. So to get those transmission bell housing bolts, lower the transmission all the way down, and this is a wobble extension. I taped it with some electrical tape. That makes it not so floppy, so you can stick the bolt in there and fish it up into the hole. So that was helpful as well. Yeah, just pay attention, take your time, save yourself a lot of money. I've got, I think, about 40 hours into it, so I basically paid myself my pharmacist wage at the low end of what I saved, which is pretty cool. Anyway, hopefully you don't see this thing on the channel again. This is just supposed to be my wife's daily driver. But if after the break-in period we have problems, we got to drop the trans, I'll show you what we're dealing with. All right, thanks for watching. Wheel it, wreck it, wrench it, repeat. We'll see you next time.